honor these individuals on the stage for the DePauw University Athletics Hall of Fame. My name is Stevie Baker Watson, and I'm honored to serve as the Theodore Catula Director of Athletics and Recreational Sports here at DePauw. DePauw Athletics Hall of Fame has honored the legacy of our greatest student athletes, coaches, administrators, and friends of Tiger Athletics for more than 30 years. From the earliest inductees like Charlie Erdman, George Lortz, Mary Conklin, and Gami Neal, to the individuals and team we honor today: Rex Call, Natalie Schaffer-Govert, Amy Hasbrook, Prudy Dix-Hilger, Ryan Sipe, Brad Stevens, Anton Tompkins, and members of the 1983-1984 men's basketball team. The Athletics Hall of Fame recognizes the exceptional athletics achievements of our student athletes, coaches, and administrators. The 7 individuals and team we recognize today were tremendously talented in their time at DePauw, and they have always represented DePauw athletics in a first-class manner. I'd like to thank you for joining me today to celebrate these achievements. We're honored to be joined today by members of the Athletics Hall of Fame and members of our DePauw family, including many family, friends, classmates, current coaches, and student athletes. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge members of the Athletics Hall of Fame Selection Committee for their work in reviewing nominations and securing the supporting documentation. This past year, the committee received over 70 nominations. At this time, I'd ask for Athletics Hall of Fame committee members to stand as I call your name, and I'd ask that the audience hold their applause until the end. Permanent members of the committee include Leslie Williams-Smith, Dr. Pam Propson, Dr. David Gelman, Mary Brecher, Bill Wagner, Dr. Rich Bonacorsi, and Phil Eskew. Elected members include Jennifer Bauer, Paige Cotton, Rob Doyle, Sarah Miller-Humbert, Tom Spees, and Dr. John Stevens. Let's give them all a round of applause. A special thank you for both Drs. Bonacorsi and Eskew for assisting me on stage today, and for Bill Wagner for a compilation of all of the statistical data used in order to select our nominees. We're also honored today to have several current DePauw Athletics Hall of Fame members in attendance. Would these individuals currently in the Hall of Fame please stand and remain standing until I introduce everyone? Pat Aikman, class of '57, Rich Bonacorsi, class of '85, Rex Call, Phil Eskew, class of '63, David Hathaway, class of '84, Jack Hogan, class of '67, Jerry Howard, class of '83, Sarah Miller-Humbert, class of '97, Nick Mourouzis, Bob Quast, class of 1985, Ted Rutan, class of '82, and Phil Wendell, class of 1986. Let's give them all a round of applause. Tiger fans, it's now time to get started. Let's roll our first video.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Amy was the fiercest competitor and the kindest soul.
She didn't wear a stopwatch, she just ran for the love of it.
She was very competitive, and that biting the lip thing is something I'll always remember. He took every at-bat seriously, just as if it were his last at-bat.
What I did know about Brad Stevens was he was going to be great at whatever he decided he was going to put his mind to.
Anton was as smart a player as I've coached.
Rex was the pioneers of kind of the expansion of our sports medicine here at DePauw.
I remember about midway through the season feeling there's nobody that can beat us.
So first one up for induction today, Tiger fans, may I present to you Rex Call, Director of Sports Medicine. Rex Call came to DePauw in 1980 for the first of 2 stints in Greencastle as the only athletic trainer for all of DePauw's teams. He retired in 2016 as the Director of Sports Medicine and as a faculty member with rank of Associate Professor. In 30 years, Call oversaw athletic training healthcare for thousands of DePauw student athletes. Through his work and dedication, he significantly expanded the athletic trainer and team physician care provided to DePauw athletic teams and our student athletes. Call earned his bachelor's degree in 1979 from Ball State University and his Master of Science degree in physical education with a specialization in athletic training from the University of Arizona in 1980. At this time, Rex, please join Rich at center stage as we learn more about your time with DePauw Athletics.
Good morning. Congratulations, Rex.
Thank you, Rich.
Just a couple of questions, starting with your amazing career at DePauw as athletics trainer, and you've won all kinds of awards, including the Ball State Cardinal Sports Medicine Society Ring of Honor, and wondering if you can comment on any particular award that stands out.
Yeah, over the years, you mentioned the Ball State Ring of Honor, which is a special award, some awards from the Indiana Athletic Trainers Association, particularly the College Athletic Trainer of the Year in 2002. But I think, Rich, hands down, the induction today to the DePauw Hall of Fame is the most meaningful award for me professionally. And I would say I make that statement because it represents a lifetime of work to advance the sports health care of our DePauw teams and our DePauw athletes. And that continues today. Dr. Harsha, Kara Campbell, Lisa Lazar keep moving the ball forward. Also, I think it shines a light on athletic trainers, on the profession, and what a key role that they play in an intercollegiate athletic program. And then lastly, it means a lot from a family standpoint. My first year here was 1980, and so our family life has really just been interconnected with DePauw. And I'll tell you a quick story, because it's right from the beginning. In 1980, remember the date, July 7th, I interviewed with Tommy Mont, was in Bowman Gym, and I was finishing my master's degree at University of Arizona. Carol and I were married. And so I made my way to DePauw for the interview in Bowman Gym that day, went up those old wooden steps, for those of you who had the pleasure of knowing Bowman Gym, met with Coach Mont, was excited about that opportunity because, he was just a legend. I knew he had played for the Washington Redskins and had been at University of Maryland, and then with the Monon Bell and Wabash DePauw rivalry, so it was exciting. I was nervous that day. But a lot of the nerves had nothing to do with the interview, because Carol was back in Tucson expecting our first child, Nate, and so it was kind of pins and needles all day. And I got through the interview, it went well, and Coach Mott said they'd let me know within a day or two. So I headed to the airport, and in those days, you went to the payphone, put your dime in, and made your collect call. So I called Carol Collect, and she said, everything's great. And I said, well, I'll be home in a few hours. So I landed in Tucson, and a colleague of mine was at the airport to greet me. So I knew right away she had gone into labor. So he rushed me to the hospital, and I got there, I think, about 8 o'clock. Our son, Nate, was born just after midnight. So I think the next day, Coach Mont called and offered me the position. And so that was really the first time family life really just kind of intersected with DePauw, but it was quite a 2 days and memorable 2 days.
Well, speaking of family and relationships, and Bob Quast is one graduate here who stood up a moment ago and said he came to DePauw because of you. And Bob is one of thousands of student athletes. We all know Rex Call. And they say that athletics is a relationship business, and you've had 30 years to develop a lot of relationships, and I was wondering if you could share with everybody how these relationships were key in your longevity and your career success.
Yeah, I think without a doubt the relationships and the bonds were paramount to my longevity here at DePauw for sustaining me for 30 years, because you have the rewards of working in your profession, but what really made it special were the special bonds that formed, and that was with athletes, with coaches, with my athletic training staff, the team doctors, with also, as you mentioned, I wore two hats. So I taught in kinesiology every semester, the 30 years I was here. So I also connected with students in the classroom. And Bob Quast, you mentioned, just kind of epitomizes that relationship. He was probably one of my first students when I came in the early 80s, and Carol and I developed just a great relationship with him. We got to know his parents. We even got to know his grandparents. And then working with athletes, another thing that was very special, especially when you're working on a day-to-day basis with athletes that are going on longer-term rehab. So you may be working months and even up to a year with that athlete, one-on-one, intensive time, trying to help them return to play safely and get back to the sport they love. So that was rewarding to see them go back on the field and know that you were a part of that, but it was also rewarding because in most instances established just a lifelong relationship. And then taking care of brothers and sisters from the same family. And I know I took care of a few of the Bonacorsis, and just in every sport, to see brothers and sisters, sometimes 2, 3, 4, that were coming to DePauw was just very special. And then that relationship with the coaches and athletic trainers that were on my staff, the team doctors, you're working side by side with them, and you share experiences in athletics, the wins, the losses, the ups, the downs, the adversity, and then you share that, and road trips. I've always said, Bill Wagner and I, behind the scenes, we need to write a book about 30 years of behind the scenes with DePauw athletics, because there's just so many great memories and so many shared experiences there. So as I got down towards the end of my career, I had collected a lot of thank you notes and thank you letters from athletes, from coaches, from athletic trainers, even from other schools, from other athletic trainers at other schools. So as I got down towards the end, every once in a while, that was in my office. I kept it in a folder in the file cabinet. I'd pull that folder out, read a few of those, and it reaffirmed DePauw was the right place for me, and I was doing the right work.
Well, that's something. There are a lot of people that are want to express their thanks to you, Rex, and I know that you wanted to thank some special people as well. So let me turn it over to you to wrap it up.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah, I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee. I'm going to pull a couple of notes out here, but I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this tremendous honor and recognition. And it's really humbling to be included with this class of 2019 because it's an outstanding group. So first off, congratulations to all the other inductees, to Coach Steele and the 83-84 basketball team. And I also want to thank my family and friends for coming out today to celebrate with me and to be a part of this special occasion, especially my wife, Carol, for her love and support during this journey. It's not easy being the spouse of an athletic trainer. While I often was away, Carol was the constant for her family, juggling her own work with parenting and at the same time always supporting my work and always cheering on the DePauw Tigers year after year. She hosted cookouts and dinners at our house for the athletic department, for DePauw teams, for athletic training students, for classroom students. Thank you, Carol, so much. Many of you know our 3 children, Nate, Chad, and Megan. They all grew up at DePauw, and they're here today along with their spouses and our 9 grandchildren who are down there all decked out in black and gold. So thank you to them for being here and for sharing the moment with me. And who knows, maybe one or more of those grandchildren will continue our family story at DePauw. I also want to recognize my mom, who's here today. My parents and grandparents instilled in my brothers and me the importance of family, faith, hard work, and helping others. So thanks, Mom. There's so many staff athletic trainers and team doctors who were colleagues and who worked closely with me over the years. I want to express my deepest appreciation to each of them for their passion and for their dedication to the health care of DePauw athletes. I want to especially recognize and thank Dr. Mark Stevens, who gave me great support as DePauw's team orthopedic doctor for over 25 years. We worked side by side. Bill Wagner's been a great colleague and friend, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with him. To the DePauw coaches that I worked with over the years, thank you for believing and trusting in me and for the opportunity to work with your teams. I also want to acknowledge Stevie Baker-Watson and Paige Cotton for their administrative support and for their confidence in me. Two of my former ADs are no longer with us, but I'll always have fond memories and be grateful to Tommy Mott and Ted Catula for hiring me. In closing, thank you, DePauw, for this tremendous honor and for allowing me to serve as your athletic trainer for 30 years.
Tiger fans, may I now present to you Natalie Schaffer-Govert, class of 2005, women's cross country and track and field. Natalie Govert won 3 individual Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference cross country championships after finishing second in her first year, and she still holds 3 of the 5 fastest times in the 5,000 meter distance in SCAC championships history. Govert led the 2004 team to the program's first NCAA appearance, where the team finished 16th, and she graduated with the school's best cross-country times for the 5,000 and 6,000 meter distances. In track and field, Govert earned all SCAC honors 4 times, including a 1,500 meter championship as a senior and a runner-up finish in 2002. She placed 9th in the 1,500 meters at the 2002 NCAA Outdoor Championships and 18th in the 5,000 meters at the 2003 NCAA Outdoor Championships. She still holds DePauw's indoor 1,500 meter record and the second fastest spot in both the outdoor 1,500 and 5,000 meter and indoor mile. This time, please welcome Natalie to center stage with Dr. Phil Eskew.
Do you still run?
I do, and I'm actually thrilled that you phrased it that way because I do still run. I haven't competed since really a lot since I graduated from college. But to me, running is different than what it was when I was in college because at DePauw, I was very intense. I was very competitive and put a lot of time and energy and shaped really my entire life here around running and being competitive. And now running is a little bit different. It's kind of my way to de-stress and my way to just kind of relax, and it puts me kind of in my happy place. So running, I do still run, but haven't really competed until next week when my brother and I are going to compete in a marathon in Missouri. So
I was a sprinter in college. I hated distance. What attracted you to running distance?
Well, you know, I think it's kind of a chicken and egg. I can't remember who started, if it was my sister started running in middle school or if my dad started running and that kind of inspired us. To be honest, I can't remember which one was which, but it was a family thing. My sister started, my older sister, and my dad would run, and it was just one of those things that I wanted to try, and I had a lot of friends that did it as well. I remember one of my first runs that I went out with my dad. It was not pretty, and specifically made it about 3/4 of a mile, and there might have been some falling down on the ground. There might have been some complaining. I was pretty sure I was dying imminently, and I'm really happy that I got over that hurdle, which I think is a challenge for a lot of people because your first steps in getting into a running journey are difficult. It's not fun to go out and go for a long run, but I'm glad that I pushed myself to continue because it wasn't long after that I really, really learned to enjoy it. I became competitive and had a lot of family and friends that were also involved.
Well, you still hold some DePauw records. Is there one race or run that you remember that was special for you?
I think there's so many that come together that were important to me. I talked about one briefly last night where it was the first time that I automatically qualified for nationals, and how excited my coach was and how he kept running further and further as the race went on, and it got me excited, and I felt like I was doing, it encouraged me to maintain the pace and could keep on that path. And then there was in cross country, another race that really, it was towards the end of my career here at DePaul. I was a senior. There was a younger runner that was in, and on paper, there was no way that I should have beaten her. She was better, she was faster, and Coach and I kind of got together before that race, and my strategy was to just run right with her and see how things went, and that's what I did, and I think it kind of mentally wore on her, and I felt strong and ended up being able to win that third consecutive SCAC title in a race I really shouldn't have, but it stuck out because it was something that I worked hard at, and I was able to do that.
What about your parents and embroidering? Is there something that your parents did for the team?
Yes, my mom does embroider, and I have some of the most supportive parents, and I feel bad if you think that you have amazing parents, because I probably have the most amazing ones. And they really bought into everything, and they were there for so many meets, and not just there to support. They wanted to do what they could for the entire team, for the coaches, to make everybody excited about it.
Anything else you want to say? You haven't mentioned your coach yet.
Well, I want to say thank you to the Hall of Fame board and really anybody that played a part in making this weekend. Just for somebody to have told me that I was nominated and not even selected would have been a huge honor. So to know that a committee came together and found what I was able to do in college remarkable. I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude to everybody that played a part in all of this, and absolutely my coach. Anybody can kind of go out and run and put their feet in front of the other and have success, but my coach really, he went above and beyond to make things good for me. And sometimes that meant my coach or my team might be running in one location and I would be somewhere totally different. I ran at Notre Dame once. I ran at an Indianapolis track that was actually in a warehouse and banked, and it was a very cool experience. But he was willing to do that and kind of go above and beyond and find places where I could find competition that would push me further. And I absolutely have to thank my parents. To get in a car and drive sometimes as far as upstate New York to watch me run no more than 17 minutes. Really, it's special to me, and I loved that they were always there for me and doing whatever they needed to do to make sure I felt supported. My husband, who I met here at DePaul, I think Rex touched on it. It's not easy necessarily dating someone and being married to someone who likes to run. It's a lot of hours that he was willing to let me do. I wasn't here a lot. Let's see. And also, it's my mom's birthday. So if you see my mom, wish her happy birthday. And I'm... But yes, I'm very grateful.
Everyone, Natalie Schaefer, go work.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Tiger fans, today I'm presenting to you Amy Hasbrook, class of 2000, posthumously. She was a member of our women's basketball team as a 4-year letter winner and 3-year starter for the women's team. After playing 13 games in her first season, Amy started the final 80 games of her collegiate career. The team's leading rebounder during her junior and senior seasons, Hasbrook totaled 682 rebounds, including 317 on the offensive glass, placing her third among all DePauw players at the time of her graduation. She still ranks 6th at the time of her induction today. She led the Tigers in field goal shooting in each of her final 2 seasons and finished her career as DePauw's all-time leading shooter at 65.2%. An honorable mention, All-Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference selection as a junior, Hasbrook was named to the second team as a senior. Following graduation, she worked as Assistant Director of Basketball Operations, Communications, and Championships for the Indianapolis-based Horizon League. Tragically, Amy died February 2nd, 2002 in a house fire. The The women's basketball team annually hosts a tournament in her name with proceeds going to the People's Burn Foundation of Indianapolis. To date, the DePauw women's basketball team has raised over $100,000 for the People's Burn Foundation and their Bravehearts summer camps in Amy memory. At this time, Tiger fans, please join me in welcoming to the stage Dan and Barbara Hasbrook, Amy's parents. Excellent.
Excellent.
Excellent. So I never had an opportunity to meet Amy. Could you tell us about her?
Yes, Amy is our twin. Her sister is in the audience with her little 3 children. She is the ultimate family person. She's the third born of our 5 children. She has an older brother and then a younger sister and a younger brother. She was the ultimate giver, and she was the peacemaker constantly, and she was committed to everything that was right. In fact, she said, if you do the right thing at the right time with the right people, you will never make any mistakes. So that's a little bit about her.
That's excellent advice. The women's basketball team uses this term GBT, girls basketball team. It's their play on the Greek letter organizations. I understand Amy had something to do with that.
Amy was blessed to actually be one of the initiators of the GBT, and they made it into a Greek letter basketball women's sorority, which is still taking place today. And the girls basketball team was probably the most wonderful thing that we have had and experienced as our family, because they became our second family. And we were blessed to get to go to all the games and watch them as they cheered each other on with they always had these T-shirts that have their little letters on them and their sayings on the T-shirts. And it was an overwhelming, wonderful feeling that you had when you went to watch these girls. We were blessed to get to go to all their games all over the country, and we were also blessed to be included by a wonderful coach. But I wanted to say something else about Amy that I might have forgotten to say last night. She was a superior, like a warrior. She was the kind of girl that left her heart on the floor, on the court, and she left her heart with everything that she ever did. She made sure she did it to the fullest of responsibility, and she did it 150%, not just 110. So she was one of those giving people to everybody. There was not a stranger in her life.
When Coach Huffman talks about her, the first thing out of her mouth almost every time is she was the fiercest competitor she had ever seen on the court. That she battled, as I introduced, played in some games her freshman year and then went on to start the rest. Do you all have a favorite game or favorite memory of Amy?
I saw her get beat up a few times because she thought she owned the backboard, and she was only 5'9". And the interesting part about Amy's statistic here is she was the highest percentage shooter because all she shot was layups and free throws. She never took a three-point shot her whole entire career. So my favorite game was the last game of her senior season at DePauw. I said, Amy, please do me a favor. Take a 3. She said, no, Dad, the coach will get mad at me.
Well, good for her for sticking to the game plan. Sorry she disobeyed you. Is there anything else that you two would like to share with us about Amy?
I wrote some things down, if you all don't mind, if I read them about her, because I thought I wouldn't give her due justice. So these are what her brothers and sisters have said about her. She is a protector of her sisters, selfless, fearless leader, kind-hearted, giving, compassionate, would never let her brothers win in a wrestling match, helped make them the best wrestlers that they could be. In fact, they both went to the state, and she took a little bit of credit for that. And the other thing that she said that I'd like to tell you is that I found this out after we lost her, is never let today's disappointments overshadow tomorrow's dreams. I would like to also give this over to Dan.
I was a little annoyed one time when the girls kept calling Amy Dennis Rodman, because all I knew about Dennis Rodman, I was a football guy. I didn't pay much attention to the sports in the basketball world, but Dennis had a lot of tattoos and a lot of nose rings and stuff like that. I'm going, why is Amy, Dennis Rodman, I had to ask somebody, and they said, well, you ever watch him play? All he does is do the little things that make teams win. And that's where they got her analogized with Dennis. So it relieved me greatly to hear that.
And her nickname from her darling teammates, who I know are out there somewhere in this audience. I can't see any of you, but I love that you're here. I love that you're all here, and we are so grateful to you. But they called her Has-Beast. You know, she was only 5'9", and she was had long curly hair. So
But she was her brother's drill partner growing up because she was older, and he won the state in wrestling.
And her other brother, she said that she looked up to because she knew that he didn't have all the athletic ability, but he worked his heart out to give everything in order to be a good athlete and a team player. And Amy left her heart every single game on the floor and did everything she could to help her teammates excel in their special games. And may I say one more thing, that Chris Huffman, there is a number 34 that is her number, and it has been given with a lot of, love and confidence to whomever would follow in Amy's footsteps each year, if there was each year, every 4 years. And there is the number 34 sitting in the audience today. I just want you to know that we're blessed that Chris Huffman has allowed Amy's legacy to carry on, and I don't know what we'd do without Chris Huffman, DePauw women's basketball. We get more comfort coming here than anywhere. It's a safe place for us.
I thought I could listen to Barbara all day. I said, I thought maybe I was going to have to.
Well, on that note,
Can I thank them?
please do thank them, Barb.
Okay, I'm sorry. May I thank you? I want to thank you. I want to thank DePauw. I want to thank Phil Eskew. I want to thank Stevie, Leslie, Dee, all the people that have put up with my phone calls to know what I was doing. I was so nervous that I've written down things 4 and 5 pages to what to say to give justice to her. And I'm shaking like a leaf right now, but I just say thank you, DePauw University, for this amazing honor that she would be humbled for. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Tiger fans, may I present to you today Ryan Sipe, class of 2005 baseball. Ryan Sipe earned 4 letters and graduated as DePauw's all-time leading batting leader with a .389 average. He also holds school records for runs scored, 156, base hits, 236, doubles, 51, and total bases, 343. A second baseman, Sipe was named to All-Region Third Team in 2003, First Team in 2004, and the second team as a senior. He was named 3 times to the All-Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference First Team, earning honorable mention in his first season. In 2004, Sipe broke the school single season records for runs scored in 53 and total bases of 115, and he held those marks until 2017. His .435 batting average in 2004 is still the 3rd best in a DePauw season. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ryan Sipe. There's a lot of records there. Record after record with runs scored, base hits, doubles, total bases. Is there one record that means more to you than the others?
I would say, when I look at it, there's 2. One is a team record. In 2005, we actually broke the school single-season record for wins, which was 29. To me, that was one of the most important things we could do is excel as a team. We were 17-5 at home that year and 12-4 in the conference. And really, we gradually improved throughout our 4 years. So that one, from a team perspective, was very important. I think from the individual standpoint, the all-time hits. I think that came down to a couple of things. One, longevity. I was lucky enough to start every game for 4 years. But I think what was most important to me is it was a culmination of my work ethic. Before I started my freshman year, I tried to figure out how could I improve throughout my 4 years. So I put down a goal that I would take 50 swings before practice every day and 50 swings after practice. So I'd get 100 extra swings every day. We played 6 days a week. The season went on for 5 months. So at the end of the day, I got about 12,000 extra swings each season, or about 50,000 swings over my career. I think that's what really set that one apart, is it was kind of a culmination of a lot of hard work.
That's a lot of dedication.
Yeah, I think it came down to, I was very lucky. I can see Coach Blake Allen up there, former Coach Jake Martin, former Coach Matt Walker. I don't know how they have arms left anymore because they threw a lot of batting practice for a long time.
I heard they wanted an award too because they threw to you so much.
Exactly.
Yes. So you've got a number of teammates that are here with you today and have joined you. Is there a particular team moment that stands out for you, or a particular game moment?
I think just more the 2004 overall team, to me, was one that stands out. That team just truly embodied DePauw. They loved being around each other on and off the field. They loved, just working together towards a common goal. We actually broke the team single-season record in 2004 that got broken again in 2005. But I've got a couple teammates here today. Very happy to see them. And I think they just really epitomize what a DePauw student-athlete should be.
Who was your greatest influence in the DePauw baseball world, and what did you learn from them?
Sure. My greatest influence while I was here was Coach Matt Walker. Coach Walker was the reason why I came to DePauw. He built a relationship with each one of his players that, when you were together for 4 years and over 170 games, it just developed into something that's, a lifelong bond. But more importantly, when Coach Walker was recruiting me to come to DePauw, we rarely ever talked about baseball. All Coach Walker wanted to talk about was how amazing academically DePauw was, what you would learn, the alumni connections that you would get, and how that degree at the end of 4 years would really prepare you for the next step in your life. So I think I respected Coach Walker for knowing that baseball was important, but at the end of the day, getting a degree from a great university was just as important.
Excellent. What else would you like to share with everyone today?
I've got a few notes. I didn't want to forget anybody. So today I'd like to take this time just to thank some people that were very important in getting me on this stage today for having a career that I did. First off was some of the DePauw staff. Bill Wagner, I can see you all the way in the back there. Wags was our sports information director and probably the most unsung hero of DePauw athletics. Former baseball coach and now head coach at that other university in Crawfordsville, Jake Martin. Wanted to thank him. Jake threw a lot of extra batting practice to me, was a great mentor. I also hope he talks to his Wabash team, because in the 4 years I was here, we were 10-0 against the Little Giants. So. Current head coach of the Tigers, Blake Allen. Coach Allen was an assistant my first 2 years here. And he and I got along because both of us were such fierce competitors. There's not a day go by that he and I don't talk about, some of the stories of just how well we got along because we just love to compete. And the other one is Coach Matt Walker, former head coach of the Tigers. He believed enough in me as a freshman to just have me come in and start on a pretty senior-laden squad. So that was something that always stood out to me. My teammates, class of 2005, John Younger, John Gratz, and Mark Alson, the latter two of which have come back today. We had a long 4-year journey, and the four of us are ones that made it all the way to the end, so I really appreciate that. My ATO fraternity brothers down there in the right corner. We all know ATOs were always very punctual to class, so I'm glad they sat down there today as well. But always the biggest supporters of me, our team throughout the 4 years, so I couldn't be more thankful for them. My family, so my in-laws, Drew Augustine, my father-in-law, came in from Scottsdale today. Couldn't be more happy. We lost Drew's wife in December, but I know that she's incredibly proud, and I know she's smiling today. My beautiful wife, Brooke, I think everybody knows I married well out of my league. She's the rock. She's the love of my life. She's one of the kindest, most loving individuals. She's moved all around the country for my job, and I'll be ever grateful for her. My sister, Jennifer, who's one of the most selfless individuals I've ever met. She's a first grade teacher in Indianapolis who dedicates her life to making others better. And I know she's made me a better person. My mother, former collegiate athlete, an educator, and a staunch proponent of Title IX. She helped a lot of women throughout her career recognize that athletics was a gateway to better things. My father, Mike Sipe. For me, a lot of people at a young age look up to their father as some sort of bigger-than-life person. I'm 37 years old, and my dad's still that way. My dad was an All-American baseball player at Hanover College and was inducted in their Hall of Fame in 2001. So I think that makes today even more special that I get to join him. The other thing about my father was he was as dedicated to Tiger baseball as anybody I've ever seen. I played almost 170 games in 4 years, and my father missed one. So in closing, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee. I'd like to thank everybody back here. I've got no more hits to offer to DePauw. I've got no more bases to steal, but I will always have a love for this university and what it had to offer. Thank you very much.
Everyone, Ryan Sipe. Tiger fans, may I present to you Prudy Dix Hilger, class of '57, Masters runner, presenting posthumously today. Prudy Hilger attended DePauw at a time when opportunities to compete in intercollegiate sports weren't available to women. However, in her postgraduate years, she distinguished herself as a master's level runner. For 3 straight years in the late 1980s, Hilger placed in the top 7 of the 50 and over age group at the Boston Marathon, including a 5th place showing. In addition to the Boston Marathon, she won 64 races and finished second only 3 times while competing in the 50 to 60-year-old age group. Breaking age group course records at most races that kept records, Hilger defeated the 50 and over 5,000 meter American record holder when she won the Columbus, Ohio Bank One Marathon. Unfortunately, Prudy passed away unexpected earlier this month and could not be with us today. Today, however, I would like to invite to the stage with Dr. Rich Bonacorsi, her husband, James Hilger, and daughter, Mary Stump.
Welcome. Mary is a DePauw grad. If you could tell us how Prudy chose DePauw to kick it off.
Well, I wasn't around then, but my mom, I'm a 3rd generation DePauw alum. My mom chose, her mom passed away when my mom was 16, but she had an aunt and uncle that lived in Winchester, Indiana, and Clyde Hinshaw graduated 25 years earlier than Prudy did from DePauw. So being close to Aunt Jane and Uncle Bud was very important to her.
Their family story. Jim, tell us about your favorite athletics memory with Prudy.
I think one of the memories was when she did win the Bank One Marathon. Prudy was running against a gal who had broken the long-time 15 over records of a Catholic nun who was principal of a school in San Francisco. Well, this gal broke her records, and she was a force to be reckoned with. Prudy caught up at 20 miles. Prudy had caught up with this runner just a little beyond. The race was well run. They had lead bicycles with each age group leader. Prudy caught up, and I had taught Prudy earlier to drink water at the stations, like voting in Chicago, drink early and often, just like voting. Well, Prudy drank at every water stop, and this other gal who was faster than Prudy, but perhaps not as experienced, used the water stations to run ahead. And Prudy would eventually catch up with her. 25 miles to go or into the race. Prudy looked around, and the lead bicyclist said, "It's just you and I, go for it." So indeed she did, and she won the Bank One. But one other memory stands out. Pretty ran a 20K race in Wheeling. That was normally the national championship. And Pretty had a blistering pace, broke the record by over 7 minutes for her age group, but it turned out they had shortened the course by 85 yards, and so the records were not valid. But she would have won the race by 6 minutes instead of 7. So I said, all time is fleeting. You're just fortunate that you won.
You know, I've noticed that Prudy taught us how to compete, but she showed us how to be through everything that she's accomplished and how she's behaved throughout her life. And I was wondering if you could comment on that and tell us a little bit more about Prudy.
Well, as Brian said, he married above his pay group. I was very fortunate. Prudy was a gentle warrior. She never, ever spoke ill of anyone or anything. In all the years I knew her, she knew no swear words. She knew no indecent language. The worst remark she might say would be, how could they do such a thing? Or how could he or she say such a thing? She never ran to win. She just ran because she wanted to do her best. In her first 2 or 3 races that she medaled, she was too embarrassed to pick up her medal, asking someone if they would pick it up for her. Finally, after 3 or 4 races of medal winning, she was told, you won it, you get it. So she did. But when she won, there was no elation, no high-fiving. She was too gentle and modest. She would walk up, pick up her medal, give a tiny smile, a thank you, and then quickly move to the side. When she was a senior year at Villa Duchanto Academy in Wheeling, her Catholic classmates voted Methodist Prudy their May Queen. She never wore a stopwatch. She just ran. She had won her first Masters running award, but when asked to submit data for her second award for the Colorado Sportswoman Hall of Fame, she declined. She said another long-time runner deserved it, even though Prudy had beaten her every race that year. After that year, Prudy quickly won her second and third award. So she was elected to the Colorado Sportswoman Hall of Fame in company with 20 or more Olympic and U.S. national champions in many sports. 2 months ago, in a regional newspaper, had an edition about senior accomplishments, and they cited Prudy and a male swimmer's sports accomplishments. Prudy received a full page of stories and pictures. Often in the last few years, she would comment. She had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's for the last 8 years, but she wished she hadn't had it. But she just said how blessed we were. I couldn't disagree. And on that fateful Saturday, when she fell shortly after we had finished a mile walk, she had made that comment. My daughter-in-law commented that Prudy had won her last final race.
Mary, anything that you would like to add? Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to Mary Stump, Jim Hilger.
All right, Tiger fans, may I present to you today Brad Stevens, class of 1999 men's basketball. Brad Stevens earned 4 varsity letters in men's basketball as he played in all 101 games during his career, an All-Indiana Collegiate Athletic Conference honorable mention selection in 1996, and DePauw Coaches Award recipient as a senior, Stevens twice recorded a career-high 24 points in a game. He was a management fellow and a 3-time academic All-America nominee, while also serving as a civic intern at DePauw's Hartman House. He earned a BA degree in economics and began his career in marketing at Eli Lilly and Company. Stevens left that position to pursue his coaching dream. Starting as a volunteer coach at Butler University in the summer 2000, Stevens became the Bulldogs Director of Basketball Operations for the 2000-2001 season and a full-time coaching assistant the next season. He remained in that capacity until 2007 when he was named the team's head coach, and his teams finished twice as the runner-up in the NCAA Division I National Championships. On July 3rd, 2013, Brad Stevens became the 17th coach of the Boston Celtics. Unfortunately, due to Brad's schedule, he's unable to join us today. However, he sent a message, and we're going to try and watch and listen to it. So if we can roll that video, please.
Hi, DePauw. I hope this message finds everybody having a great day. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. Congratulations to all of the other people going into the Hall of Fame, and especially for me, a special congratulations to Rex Call, who was a great trainer my whole 4 years at DePauw, and I've known well before that when I used to visit campus with my dad. The 83-84 team, coached by Mike Steele, you set a bar for all of us that was extremely high. Congratulations to you, and congratulations to my peer, Amy Hasbrook, whose legacy, not only as a player, but as a great teammate and peer, is as good as it gets. And, special congratulations to all of you and your families, and I hope that you all get a chance to celebrate and enjoy today and enjoy the impact that all of those people I mentioned made on DePauw. When I got the call that I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I laughed a little bit, because when I looked at my stat line and saw that I averaged 7 points, 32% from three, 69% from the free throw line, and assists a month, and a bunch of turnovers on a barely over 500 team, that doesn't necessarily scream surefire Hall of Famer. The first two texts that I got from two of my best friends who were teammates, Josh Birch and Matt Broughton, were, how the hell did you get into the Hall of Fame? And so I think that sums it up. And I've been trying to search for that answer for the last few months, but I thought the best way to figure out why is just the fact that I was surrounded by Hall of Fame caliber people. My parents and a lot of my family have really pushed DePauw from the get-go, and I'm appreciate all of them for that. We have so many people on my mom's side that went to DePauw, and a fellow Hall of Famer in Kent Guild, who was a class of 1954 and part of the basketball team. And so it's an honor to be up there next to him. But when I look at my experience and my time there, I think that when you talk about Hall of Fame caliber people, it always starts with the teammates that I got a chance to play with. They're all over the map now. We were just an okay team from a results standpoint, but it's been a great team from a relationship standpoint. And it's really been fun to connect as I fly all over the country and see them in all their different ages and stages of life with all their kids, get a chance to eat a dinner, get a chance to spend a day, get a chance to see them on the road. We've had plenty of them visit Boston, and obviously anytime I go back to Indianapolis, I see a number of teammates there. I appreciate them all. There's too many names to mention, and so I'll spare you the time, but every one of them had a huge impact on me. The coaches, obviously all the assistants, especially Patrick Hughes, who recruited me to come to DePauw, I'm indebted to and appreciate the impact that they had on us. And Coach Finland, I was probably an extremely hard guy to coach. In fact, there's no probably about it. I was a hard guy to coach, a person that played a lot as a freshman and sophomore, a little bit less as a junior, and barely got in as a senior. But what I appreciate about Coach Finland was he was never afraid to have a hard conversation with me. And what I learned from him goes well beyond the X's and O's, but more to what's important, how it is that you're defined as a teammate, and the legacy that you leave as a teammate. And it's stuff that I've taken with me as I've continued to move on in this profession and in coaching, you can truly relate to the person that gets, their name in the paper and the person that is sitting on the end of the bench because of that experience and because of the way I was coached. And Coach Finland knows how much I appreciate him. And I not only enjoyed our time together when I was 18 to 22, but appreciate him even more now and enjoy our time every summer that we get to spend together now that I'm 42. So thank you, Coach. I can't say thank you enough. The next group of people that had a huge impact on mine are all the different, just different professors, teachers, and coaches that, I saw on a day-to-day basis there. Coach Nick, I've known Coach Nick forever. He coached my dad at IU, and I used to go to DePauw football games when I was a kid, when we first moved back to the state of Indiana in the late 70s. Coach Nick has had a huge impact on me, and obviously the institution as a whole. Coach Huffman, who I tried to help get the Butler job in 2003, and from a selfish standpoint at DePauw, I'm sure you're glad we weren't successful, but as good as it gets, and set a bar for all of the teams that were there with her consistency and their achievement. And again, it's great to see Amy Hasbrook honored in this way. Such a tragic loss for all of us that knew Amy, and certainly for your program. But any day that any one of her players goes into the Hall of Fame is a deserved day because of all that they've accomplished. For me, Gary Lemon was a great mentor of mine in the economics department, and also kept the score sheet. Probably a reason why I didn't get as many assists. It may have been because I didn't pass. It may have been because of Gary's stat keeping. But then Mary English, I have to single out. Mary was one of the few people I'd say in my life that I could walk into her office in complete disagreement when I left, but loved her just as much when I left. She was she challenged me. She was warm. She was demanding. A true advisor and mentor. She would not take it easy on you if she thought you could do more, and I really appreciated that. My mom and her usually come to games together in the winter, as they both live in Florida, so I get a chance to see Mary at least once in Orlando or Miami during the season, and I really always look forward to that. And I think about when you think about Hall of Fame caliber people and why you're getting a chance to be inducted into this despite those horrendous stats. Obviously, the person that stands out more than any, and the best thing that ever happened to me as a result of DePauw was getting a chance to meet Tracy. And from obviously a life partner, been dating since we were 20-year-old sophomores at DePauw. But also my number one psychologist, my number one assistant coach, my number one agent, all the roles that she plays in my life. I think if you're judged based on stats, if you're judged based on the kind of teammate you were, if you're judged based on wins and losses, I have no business being in the Hall of Fame at DePauw. But if you're judged based on, marrying Tracy, then I'm a first ballot. And I think that's something that I'm really appreciative of, and we are appreciative of everything that DePauw has done for us. I look forward to getting back to campus in March to speak to the student body when I'm back. And this is the rest of you that are getting inducted. This is your day. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy it. We wish we were there, but send our very best. Go Tigers.
All right, Tiger fans, now presenting to you Anton Tompkins, class of '91 with men's soccer. Anton Tompkins was a 3-time All-Region selection and was a third-team honoree in 1988 and a second-team in 1989 and 1990 selection. He earned All-Indiana Collegiate Athletic Conference honors in the Tigers' first 2 seasons in the conference. Today, he ranked 16th in goals with 25, 20th in assists with 14, and 18th in points with 64. During his 4 seasons, the Tigers posted a 54, 16, and 2 record and made NCAA appearances in 1987 and 1989. Tompkins graduated from medical school from the University of Cincinnati College of Medicine. His general surgery internship and orthopedic surgery residency training took place at the Indiana University Medical Center in Indianapolis. Tompkins joined Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute in Northwest Indiana in 2001, where he provides specialized diagnosis and surgical treatment for injuries and condition of the back, neck, and spine. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anton Tompkins to the center stage with Dr. Phil S. Field.
Anton, you played for one of the great college coaches, Paige Cotton. What life lessons and game lessons did you learn from playing for Paige?
Yeah. Coach Cotton was, as you said, not only a great coach, but he was also a mentor, guidance counselor in terms of what I should do for a career. I'll talk about that. But he taught me a lot of things. Well, here's a great story about Coach Cotton. I think it was interesting. When I came to DePauw, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I came here thinking I was going to be a biomedical engineer, but it was going to be a 3-2 program, 3 years here and 2 years away. And I certainly did not know what I wanted to do. Didn't want to leave, sure. And I went to Coach, and I said, hey, Coach, what can I do with this biology degree? And he said, why don't you look into medicine? And guess who he picked up the phone and called? He called you. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but you were nice enough to allow me to follow you through one of the winter term opportunities.
Yeah, but I'm an OBGYN, and you chose orthopedics.
Yeah, I couldn't do your job. But so one of the things I mentioned that about Coach is he wasn't just your coach, he was really supportive. And I think that's important to know about him as an individual. He was very, very supportive. Anybody who knows Coach Cotton, you know his door was always open. He was always there to help. And another lesson he always taught me was to be prepared, be both physically and mentally ready to do whatever life brings your way.
There's a lot of student athletes here in the audience. You have any advice for them?
Yeah, I can think of a couple. The most important thing to remember as a student athlete, would probably here at DePauw, is don't waste time. Yeah, you have 4 years. And those 4 years can be cut short by injury, no matter what it is. So don't waste time. Spend your time getting involved. Work hard, stay focused, and do your best. And the second thing I would say is remember those words, student, athlete. You're a student first, and you're an athlete second. There's very few people who are going to go on to be, professional athletes. But you have an opportunity now as a student athlete to make a difference and enjoy it, and most importantly, be a good student here. So remember that, student athlete.
Coach Mont used to say, there's 3 things you can do when you come to college. You can study, you can play football, or you can chase girls, but you can only do 2 of them well. And that's the same thing. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'd like to thank several folks. Obviously, I'd like to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to be sitting here today. It's an amazing honor. I'd like to thank Coach Cotton for being supportive. But I think me sitting here is a culmination of a lot of support from a lot of folks, from my coaching, but also my wife, who's also a DePauw alum. We've been married now 27 years, so I want to say thank you for that. She reminds me often that soccer was my first love. She came second. That's not true, babe. You're always number one in my life. And also, I'd like to thank my parents. My mother's here today. Thank you for being here. Starting from age 5 all the way through college. My mom reminded me one day, I was 15, I was leaving out, it was Christmas, to go for another soccer tournament, that I had not been home for any holiday for 7 years. And so thank you for that support. But I'd also like to thank my father, unfortunately, who's not here. He passed away 1 year ago from this past June. Like Ryan, my father had only missed 1 game in all of my career from age 5 all the way through college. So he was very, very supportive, and without that support, I'm certain would not be sitting here. So,
Anton Tompkins, congratulations.
So finally, Tiger fans, may I present to you today the 1983-1984 men's basketball team. The 83-84 men's basketball season was a campaign of many firsts and records, as the Tigers won a school record 25 games on the way to a 25-5 finish under the direction of third-year head coach Mike Steele. After finishing the previous season with 11 straight wins and a school record 18 victories and narrowly missing a trip to the postseason, The Tigers opened the 83-84 season with a pair of wins before falling to Butler in Hinkle Fieldhouse. A 4-game win streak started with a win at preseason 4th-ranked Illinois Wesleyan. The Tigers' second loss came by 2 points at Division I Valparaiso as the Crusaders hit 2 free throws with 2 seconds left. DePauw ran its record to 13-2 after capturing the DePauw Invitational, and DePauw rattled off 8 of 9 straight wins before finishing the regular season with a record of 21-4. Not only did the Tigers earn a spot in the NCAA tournament, but they were selected as the Great Lakes region host. In a packed Neal Fieldhouse, DePauw defeated Capital 62-60 and Heidelberg 54-53 in overtime to advance to the national quarterfinals. The Tigers again were selected as a quarterfinal host and entertained Lemoyne Owen of Memphis, Tennessee. DePauw had little trouble in advancing to the national semifinals following a dominating 98-49 win. That victory wrapped up a perfect 15-0 home record for the season. A trip to Calvin College followed, and the Tigers fell to eventual Division III national champion Whitewater in the semifinals, but came right back up the next night to top Uppsala and finished 3rd in the country. They earned a bid to the NCAA Division III men's basketball championships and advanced to the national semifinals again before placing 3rd. Dave Hathaway led the Tigers in scoring with 16 points per game and earned 3rd-team All-America honors from the National Basketball Coaches Association. Phil Wendell broke the single-season record with 178 assists, a mark that stood for 18 years. The team also established school records for free throws made with 521 and attempted 685. Both of those records still stand. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to center stage head coach Mike Steele, along with Dr. Phil Eskew.
Mike, you had kind of an off and on season. You win a couple, lose one, win several more. How'd this team come together?
Well, before we get started on that, I'd like to thank Rex Call. You know, trainers always try to take care of you. And Rex Call started off today saying he missed his first child's birth, which makes the rest of us look pretty darn good. So Rex, I appreciate that, Val. Yeah. Like I said, this is before we get to that. I'd like to have all the guys that were on that team and all the people that were involved and all of their families, if you guys would all stand up so we could recognize all of you. Families, all the players, anybody that was involved. Families. Thank you so much, and I'm going to let you go in just a second. I want to thank DePauw University. They hired me as the head coach when I was 26, and I don't know what they were thinking, but it was a huge opportunity for me, and to show you how important it was to be the head coach, when I went home and I told my wife I got the job, the first thing she said, of course, was, how much are they going to pay you? And I said, I don't have a clue. And I didn't have a clue. I didn't know until, I really don't ever know even what I did get paid, but I do know I was the head coach. And from there on, it was the greatest experience, coaching these guys. You know, last night we were all together, and it's funny, the athletes that are in the room here, we've won a lot of games. We won 61 straight games at home over a period of time. And Scott Lewis, he didn't lose any games until he got walking pneumonia. And I thought walking pneumonia, you could play with walking pneumonia. I mean, so I blame the streak ended with Scott. But we were so fortunate to coach here at DePauw, because the people here, they understand the academic part, but they also understand every game we played. Like I had a chance to play in the Indiana-Purdue games. None of those games were any more important or any more intense than the Wabash-DePauw games. And I think that's the special thing about Division III athletics. I think our guys were, I know they were, just as competitive as any of the guys I played with at Purdue. And that's pretty special. Okay, your turn.
I mean, the season's going along. At what point did you really think this team's got a chance? This team is really getting it.
Well, the first 2 games of the year, we beat Huntington and Manchester, and I think they won 4 games apiece. So it wasn't then. In fact, Keith Gossard, my good friend that was kind of my mentor, I told him, we will not win 10 games. Well, then we got beat by Butler, and then we went and played at Illinois Wesleyan, and they were ranked 4th in the country in Division III. They had a guy we couldn't stop, and at halftime, we're walking out, and I said to Coach Benetti, who was with me for a long time, great assistant coach, I said, Coach B, we're going to start Scotty in the second half. And Coach B said, Scotty who? Because Scotty hadn't played any yet that year. And he started the second half. We won the game. We never could get him out of the lineup. And that was one of the biggest selling points. Or that's when I knew we had a chance to be pretty good.
Talk about your team as a whole. I mean, they're just a great group of guys.
Well, you know, I need to thank Paige Cotton because I followed Paige here. And Paige, I ended up with 3 seniors that Paige recruited. David Hathaway, who is in the Hall of Fame, rightfully so. Steve Stroop, Dr. Stroop, was one of my all-time favorites. And Juan Aponte, who the first day I met Juan, I said, Juan, you're my favorite Puerto Rican. And I said that to him 2 weeks ago. And he always comes back with, Coach, am I the only Puerto Rican you've ever coached? I said, absolutely. But, you know, but you're still my favorite. And those 3 guys, David Hathaway was a hard worker, tough, and he loved to score. He loved to shoot. When we would call his number, it would be like the commercial, the dog, when you'd yell squirrel. He'd jerk that head around. I mean, he was going to get open. Steve Stroop, 2 days before we played Wabash his senior year, I watched Steve Stroop run across the parking lot. It was pouring down rain. And he just left a lab, and he was doing everything he could do to get to practice. That's how important it was to him. And so I was having coffee with Mr. Gossard, and I said, we're playing Wabash. I'm starting Steve Stroop in this game. And he said, why would you do that? And I said, well, first, because I can. And I said, secondly, he epitomizes what Division III is about. He loved to play. He was smart, and we won the game, and he had 8 or 10 points. And, you know, and I told the other guys, when guys want to practice and be there like that, you deserve a chance to play. And then Juan Aponte, he was a unique situation. The first year, my wife, Sandy, who always watches the guys but she always watches to see about the attitudes, who's dropping their heads. And she said, Mike, Juan didn't even go in the huddle some. I said, Sandy, he can't understand a word I say, and I can't understand a word he says. So we might as well have the people that can understand. But what he could do, he was incredibly competitive. He was tough. The only thing he really needed to know, and we're talking about the girl who couldn't shoot any threes, we didn't let Juan shoot anything. And he rebounded, he played defense, and he wanted to win the games. And when we got beat by Wisconsin Whitewater, and it's a third-place game, which is somewhat meaningless, he'd hurt his knee. They didn't think he could play. And Juan says, Coach, I'm playing in the game. And that's what kind of kid he was. So those three seniors kind of set the stage for how hard they worked. And then we had such a good group of, we had juniors that contributed, Phil Wendell, who was a great, I mean, we've got guys here that were, in the Hall of Fame already. So, and what I learned early, the first meeting I had with my players, I knew I was without question the dumbest person in the room. Now, I think in retrospect, we might have had somebody that could do the video, but my first recruit, Ted Rutan, where's Teddy? Ted Rutan, stand up. No, stand all the way up. Ted Rutan, I played against Ted Rutan in a pickup game, and he was really good. He had a bandana on and all that stuff, but he was really good. And I said, who is that guy? And they say, he's a baseball player. I said, well, he's getting ready to be a basketball player. He doesn't know it yet, but he's getting ready to be. And the good thing about getting Ted is we were way ahead of the game. I mean, he was a grad guy, and I didn't even know what that meant, but he played 2 years. And when I got him, then I knew I might have been the dumbest one in the room, but I wasn't the oldest. Rudy was here a long time with us, long time. All right, your turn.
Anything else you want to add?
Oh, yeah, there's lots. No. What time's the game? What time's the kickoff?
The game doesn't start till 1.
Okay.
So.
No. One thing, though, if you're playing last night we had so much fun, and I don't think we ever talked about a game. We talked about the things that happened before the game and after the game and in practice. And I'll finish with this. We find out we're in the tournament, and we're playing Rose-Hulman. And my whole focus, the whole conversation was, it doesn't make any difference if we're in the tournament. We're playing Rose-Hulman. That's what we need to focus on. You need to focus on the game. It's what's going on right there. And I mean, I beat it into our guys. So the game's going on, and Phil Wendell gets a foul, and I turned to Coach B, and I said, how many fouls does Phil have? And he says to Coach Stevens, he says that's his first one. He gets another one with about 30 seconds to go, and they said, we made a mistake, that's his third one. So I'm incredibly mad. And we'd lost a lead, we're not focused, and so we're staying out there and out by the locker room, and we're here, and I'm yelling at the three assistants, and they're really well paid. They got no money. And I'm yelling at them, and I said, how do you expect these guys in the locker room to focus when you guys aren't focused? We got to focus, it's ridiculous. Stay out here, figure out what the heck you're doing. Boy, I went in that locker room and shut the door. I was in the janitor's closet. And I spent about a minute in there because I really, I was looking around, there's a broom, and that word focus kept coming into. So I know I got to go back out. And so I go back out, and to my guys' credit, they all had their heads down. I know it was killing them. They had their heads down. And Coach Rutan, he handed me the clipboard, and I handled it very professionally. I snapped that thing over my knee. And then the banquet that year, they had put the clipboard together, and it said, Coach Steele, composure doesn't always win games. So I have people ask me when I got out of coaching, they said, do you miss coaching? And I tell them, I miss coaching at DePauw because it is a special place.
I just wish we had time to talk to the players to learn the life lessons that they learned from playing for Coach Steele. Coach Steele, and the team.
Now it's time for us to meet the team. When I call your name, please join Dr. Eskew at center stage. And we're going to read everyone's name, even though they may not always all be here. Christopher Adams was unable to make it. Juan Aponte. You do!
It's alphabetical.
And we're going to ask you that you pause for a picture there. Next up, assistant coach Chris Benetti. Dan Daniel. Student manager John Dempsey. Brent Ehrman. Athletic trainer Stephen Foster. David Gall, accepting his award today, his wife Jamie and daughter Megan.
Hello. David Gall. David Gall was the epitome of Division III athletics. David Gall was the nicest young man, and when he would get between the lines, he was nasty. I mean, we'd do these drills, and his own teammates, he would knock them down, and then he'd help them up, and he'd say what they were doing wrong, excuse me, and then he'd knock them down again, and then he'd do the same thing. I mean, he was an All-American, but he was also the best teammate. He was the best teammate and the best guy to coach, and yeah.
Next up, Dave Greiwe. David Hathaway. Unable to be with us today was Dennis Hogan. Next up, Cliff Jones. Bill Kraus. Mackenzie Scott Lewis. Craig McAtee. Neil Ogle. Not with us today, Charles Rumsey. Next up, assistant coach Ted Rutan.
Rudy? Thanks for making fun of me. You're welcome.
Two more individuals unable to be with us today, but part of the team, David Siegel and John Schneider. Next up, assistant coach Jeffrey Stevens. Steven Stroop. Joe Vanderkolk. Tim Veek. Not able to be with us today, Stephen Wiles. And finally, Phil Wendell. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give the 1983-1984 men's basketball team one more round of applause.
I've got one more. This group was with us when my second son was born, and that's Drew Steele. And if he would come up, bring your plaque. While we're young, let's go. Drew was in the hospital and had open heart surgery and during the season and stuff, and we didn't know what was going to happen to him, and now he's got, if you Google Drew Steele, he works 3 days a week at a dental office, 2 days with your brother, 2 days a week at the football office at East Carolina, 1 day at the Drew Steele Center. We remodeled a gymnasium and raised a bunch of money, and his name is on that. He leads the Pirates onto the field in all the sports, and what he's accomplished is pretty neat, and it just shows you just don't let anything hold you back, because, okay, come on.
You got a picture?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our program this morning.
Tiger fans, please direct your attention to midfield as we welcome the DePauw University 2019 Athletics Hall of Fame honorees. First is Rex Call, Director of Sports Medicine. Rex Call came to DePauw in 1980 for the first of 2 stints in Greencastle as the only athletic trainer for all of DePauw's teams. He retired in 2016 as the Director of Sports Medicine and as a faculty member with rank of Associate Professor. In 30 years, Call oversaw athletic health care for thousands of DePauw student athletes. Through his work and dedication, he significantly expanded the athletic trainer and team physician care provided to DePauw teams. Call earned his bachelor's degree in 1979 from Ball State University and his Master of Science degree in physical education with specialization in athletic training from the University of Arizona in 1980. Rex Call. Natalie Schaefer Govert, class of 05, women's cross country and track and field. Natalie Govert won 3 individual Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference cross country championships after finishing second in her first year, and she still holds 3 of the 5 fastest times at the 5,000 meter distance in SCAC championships history. Govert led the 2004 team to the program's first NCAA appearance, where it finished 16th. And she graduated with the school's best cross-country times for 5,000 and 6,000 meter distances. In track and field, Govert earned all SCAC honors 4 times, including a 1,500 meter championship as a senior and a runner-up finish in 2002. She placed 9th in the 1,500 meters at the 2002 NCAA Outdoor Championships and 18th in the 5,000 meters at the 2003 NCAA Outdoor Championships. She still holds DePauw's indoor 1,500 meter record and the second fastest spot in both the outdoor 1,500 and 5,000 meter and the indoor mile. Natalie Schaefer Govert. Amy Hasbrook, class of 2000, women's basketball, represented by her parents Barb and Dan Hasbrook. Amy Hasbrook was a 4-year letter winner and 3-year starter for the women's basketball team. After playing 13 games in her first season, Hasbrook started the final 80 games of her collegiate career. The team's leading rebounder during her junior and senior seasons, Hasbrook totaled 682 rebounds, including 317 on the offensive glass, placing her 3rd among all DePauw players at that time of her graduation. She still ranks 6th now at the time of her induction. She led the Tigers in field goal shooting in each of her final 2 seasons and finished her career at DePauw as the all-time leading shooter at 65.2%. An honorable mention All-Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference selection as a junior, Hasbrook was named to the 2nd team as a senior. Following graduation, she worked as Assistant Director of Basketball Operations, Communications, and Championships with the Indianapolis-based Horizon League. Tragically, Amy died February 2002 in a house fire. The women's basketball team at DePauw now annually hosts a tournament in her name, with proceeds going to the People's Burn Foundation of Indianapolis. To date, the DePauw women's basketball team has raised over $100,000 for the People's Burn Foundation and their Braveheart summer camps in Amy Hasbrook's memory. Next is Prudence Dix Hilger, class of 57, Masters runner, represented by her husband, James Hilger. Prudence Hilger attended DePauw at a time when opportunities to compete in intercollegiate sports weren't available to women. However, in her postgraduate years, she distinguished herself as a Masters level runner. For 3 straight years in the late 1980s, Hilger placed in the top 7 of the 50 and over age group at the Boston Marathon, including a 5th place showing. In addition to the Boston Marathon, she won 64 races and finished 2nd only 3 times while competing in the 50 to 60 age group. Breaking age group course records at most races that kept records, Hilger defeated the 50 and over 5,000 meter American record holder when she won the Columbus, Ohio Bank One Marathon. Prudy passed away earlier this month after a fall at her home. Ryan Sipe, class of 05, baseball. Ryan Sipe earned 4 letters and graduated as DePauw's all-time batting leader with a .389 average. He also holds school records for runs scored at 156, base hits 236, doubles 51, and total bases 343. A second baseman, Sipe was named to the All-Region third team in 2003, the first team in 2004, and the second team as a senior. He was named 3 times to the All-Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference first team after earning honorable mention in his first season. In 2004, Sipe broke the school's single-season record for runs scored at 53 and total bases 115. He held those marks until 2017. His .435 batting average in 2004 is still the 3rd best in a single DePauw season. Ryan Sipe. Brad Stevens, class of '99, men's basketball. Brad Stevens earned 4 varsity letters in men's basketball as he played in all 101 games during his career. An All-Indiana Collegiate Athletic Conference honorable mention selection in 1996 and DePauw Coaches Award recipient as a senior, Stevens twice recorded a career-high 24 points in a game. He was a management fellow and a 3-time Academic All-America nominee, while also serving as a civic intern at DePauw's Hartman Center. He earned a BA degree in economics and began a career as the marketing associate at Eli Lilly, and Stevens left that position later to pursue his coaching dream. Starting as a volunteer coach at Butler University in summer of 2000, Stevens became the Bulldogs' Director of Basketball Operations for the 2001-2001 season and a full-time coaching assistant the next season. He remained in that capacity until April 2007 when he was named the team's head coach. On July 3rd, 2013, Stevens became the 17th head coach of the Boston Celtics. Brad Stevens. Next is Anton Tompkins, class of '91, men's soccer. Anton Tompkins was a 3-time All-Region selection and was a 3rd-team honoree in 1988 and 2nd team in 1989 and 1990. He earned all Indiana Collegiate Athletic Conference honors in the Tigers' first 2 seasons in the conference. Today he ranks 16th in goals with 25, 20th in assists with 14, and 18th in points with 64. During his 4 seasons, the Tigers posted a 54-16-2 record and made NCAA appearances in 1987 and '89. Tompkins graduated from medical school from the University of Cincinnati College of Medicine. His general surgery internship and orthopedic surgery residency training took place at the Indiana University Medical Center in Indianapolis. Tompkins joined Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute in Northwest Indiana in 2001, where he provides specialized diagnosis and surgical treatment for injuries and conditions of the back, neck, and spine. Anton Tompkins, class of '91. The DePauw 1983-84 men's basketball team. The 1983-84 men's basketball team was a campaign of many firsts and records as the Tigers won a school record 25 games on the way to a 25-5 finish under the direction of 3rd-year head coach Mike Steele. They earned a bid to the NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship and advanced to the national semifinals before placing 3rd in the nation. Dave Hathaway led the Tigers in scoring with 16 points per game and earned 3rd-team All-America honors from the National Basketball Coaches Association. Phil Wendell broke the single-season school record with 178 assists, a mark that stood for 18 years. The team also established school records for free throws made at 521 and free throws attempted at 685, both of which still stand. Team members include Christopher Adams, Juan Aponte, Chris Benetti, assistant coach, Dan Daniel, John Dempsey, student manager, Brent Ehrman, Stephen Foster, athletic trainer, David Gall, Dave Greiwe, David Hathaway, Dennis Hogan, Cliff Jones, Bill Krause, Scott Lewis, Craig McAtee, Neil Ogle, Charles Rumsey, Ted Brutan, assistant coach, David Seigel, John Snyder, Mike Steele, head coach, Jeffrey Stevens, assistant coach, Stephen Strupp, Joe Vanderkolk, Tim Beakey, Phil Wendell, and Stephen Wiles. Tiger fans, please join in congratulating the DePauw University 2019 Athletics Hall of Fame honorees.